Peril of the Brutal Dark, an Ezra CAIN mystery, issue 1, Chris Condon writing with JACOP PHILLIPS on the art. So, you know what? This had a little bit riding on it because, you know, the last 2 issue ones from Vertigo, we didn't really feel that hot on. We were lukewarm to outright dislike in last week's one, which we thought was like trying too hard to be edgy and whatnot. Now, this book starts in the early 20th century, I guess, the early 1900s, with archaeologist expedition is looking for supernatural artifacts, and then we skip ahead to the 40s where a pulp detective is roped into a case looking for people who maybe stole this artifact from a museum, and I'm like, okay, someone just read Matt's like wish list and just started building. Like, if a sexy redhead shows up, then that's it. Like, it's everything. It's everything Matt wants in a story.
We still need a femme fatale, Pete.
Oh, there'll be a femme fatale. That'll happen. I have no doubt of it. Do you know what I'll say about this one? Which was good. I liked it for the record. Is the extra page count for the issue 1? You know, the extra 10 pages or whatever. I feel like they used that to just like have a cool intro. And I don't even mean the flashback. I think the flashback to them finding the artifact would be there either way. But the extended like 10 pages of like just Ezra going to like find some guy that he's looking for, and then the chase sequence that happens as a result, which is mostly silent. There's not a lot of dialogue. I'm like, oh, this is them just using those pages to give you a cool atmospheric, you know, pulpy intro, and then we get into the story afterwards with all the setup.
I thought the same thing. And I was like, oh, this is not that wordy. And then as we start getting into it, it starts to get around, because I've read the first trade of that Texas Blood. When this got announced and Connor had talked about how good Texas Blood was, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And not that it's wordy, but Condon will use his dialogue in a similar way to Brubaker, that it doesn't cover up the art, but he'll let the art go for pages, right? And then he'll throw in the dialogue and stuff. And that's what happens here too. And I was like, okay, so this is very much their style. But that first like action sequence with Ezra, where he's, you know, following the guy, and then there's shots fired and the car driving and all this other stuff. Nothing in that Texas Blood is that extended, right? So like, he's really letting Phillips work here. And it does feel like it's both of their books, and it's not just like, the writing doesn't speak for the art doesn't speak for the writing. Like, they're working perfectly in conjunction.
The extra 10 pages just give them a lot of flexibility there. But even the flashback at the start to 1913, where they're, you know, finding the artifact in the tomb or whatever, that is again very silent as well. There's a couple of words here or there, but it's mostly very visual. The setting, you realizing they have to set fire to the door to open it. That's like the trick. And they get to the anvil of Hephaestus, which is what they're looking for. And then there's like automatons that attack them, but then they all just sort of like, you know, drop down. Like all of that, mostly silent, right? Not too much. And then most of the stuff with Ezra coming to find this guy who opens fire and kills the neighbor or the landlord, whoever it is, who's trying to like get the door open. And we get a bit of a chase, goes down the fire escape, there's machine gun fire, very pulpy, so lots of blues with just a bit of yellow from the windows and the lights. So nice contrast there. A little bit of car action. But ultimately Ezra fires a shot off that kills this guy, and he gets back this case that has something inside it that has, you know, not his employer, but his, you know, this is like, he's a PI, he's been hired to get this case back.
Yeah.
You know?
And the guy, he's like, I'll send you the invoice. And he's like, no, I'm not paying you for this. Someone died. The police are going to be all over it. And Ezra's just like, yeah, no, like, you hired me for a reason. He goes, the other thing is the cops would like to know about it, but they don't, and they won't. And whoever was after it, well, you probably don't want them after you, right?
Yeah.
So I'll even send you a second invoice. So you immediately get the vibe of this character that he's not, you know, because I was expecting an Indiana Jones type, right? Analog, right? He's much more of the Sam Spade, Shades of Grey, he'll do bad things but for good reasons type character.
Yeah, because the second invoice thing is he's like, oh, like, you know, like these people who want this thing, they're going to try again. Like this guy was just a delivery boy. And it's like, oh, who's going to protect me? Well, I'll send you a second invoice if you like. So he's basically saying, hey, you can hire me again to protect you if you want, but it's going to cost even more. So yeah, we see that he's good to people though. Like his neighbor next to where he lives is like, hey, was it 2 weeks Ezra, 2 weeks in Scavani ain't bothered me no more. So some gang member or someone was like giving the shop owner some guff, and he's like taking care of it. We find out that Ezra used to be a cop, but he isn't anymore. He's a PI. But the phone rings when he gets in, and he's told to meet a client. But he's also, who runs into a cop that he knows as well, who asks for a favor. Now this favor ends up being tied to the case that he's going to end up getting from the client. They're one and the same. The cop tells about his neighbor, whose husband has went missing, and the woman's very worried. And because they're immigrants and they're German, especially since it's 1940, 1 or 2 here, Germany's not very popular right now. She's not going to get any help. So that sets up that, and then he goes to the museum and meets the curator there, who's worried because his employee, or he's worried because an item's been stolen, and later on the reveal is that the employee, has been missing. I think it's when the wife shows up to talk to him. We find out that the person who's missing, the employee who probably took this artifact, is the husband of the wife, and maybe has done this either because he's a part of, or he has been forced to do it under duress for the brutal dark, which might be trying to take this item back to Nazi Germany. That might be the implication here.
Right. So he takes him to the museum. They meet. They talk about how great the office is, and the only reason that the curator, whose name is James Sweet, got in contact with Ezra is because Ezra's anthropology professor in college talked about him. And that anthropology professor was the guy that found, from the beginning, the Anvil of Hephaestus. And so they have it down in essentially, it's not a back room, but it's like the storage facility where they keep all the stuff that's not ready.
Because there's a whole thing here goes into where Greece was worried that their artifacts and stuff in their museums were going to be taken by Nazis or Russians, and there's we'll have this museum in America. Let's basically store everything for us and keep it safe while this is all going on. But it seems like the powers over there really wanted their hands on this one thing. And notably, it's the only thing that's been taken. Nothing else is missing. It's just this anvil.
Right.
So it's like, okay, that sets that up. And it's when Ezra's going home, his lights on, he gets his gun out because he thinks that's suspicious, and he comes in. But it's just the wife, the neighbor wife, and the cop told him about, who's like, hey, my husband's, gone. And the exact line she says is, Mr. K, my name is Meyer. Malcolm, my neighbor, sent me for help. My husband's gone. He went to work at a museum 2 days ago, but he never came home. They took him. The Brutal Dark being the name of who took him. So I thought this was a really good setup issue. It set up the different threads. One of the worries I get when we're doing kind of noir detective stuff is that sometimes they're so convoluted that I just lose interest. This wasn't convoluted. It made sense to set up the artifact. They've set up the possible people who want it. They've set up a name for maybe a specific organization. Whether they are part of Nazis, or they are going to sell it to the Nazis, or they're just some subcult or something, who knows? But they set this up quite well, and I think that the fact that this man's wife is concerned says that, okay, this is kind of a boogeyman, and maybe it's not an accident that they picked a German person. Maybe they had dirt on him or something to force him into helping.
And the way that the lettering goes with the bubble with the Brutal Dark, there's an iciness
yes
off of it. So there's a danger to what she says. But this is a hell of a hook, right? I was already invested as soon as I opened it up and they're doing archaeological digs, right? And then we get this guy wearing a fedora doing PI work in New York, and I was like, oh. And then we go to a museum. So as if I wasn't already hooked in, we get to this end where
this is Matt's crack.
Who's they? It is.
Not that crack, the other crack.
She's like, oh, the other crack. hook it to my veins.
Yes.
But yes, so good. And then just the way that the JACOP Phillips, right, which his dad is Sean Phillips, who works with Brubaker on like Criminal and all of those.
It's funny you say that, because when I typed in his name on my list, I put Sean Phillips first, just because it was like a Freudian thing, and then
used to it.
And then I was like, oh no, wait, no, it's JACOP Phillips. Never mind.
Yes, which their styles are very similar, but still, as having read that Texas Blood, there is like a softness to JACOP Phillips that his dad doesn't have. That Sean's stuff is a lot more heavier, almost like sketchier. You know, like there's heavier lines, this, that, and the other. And here, JACOP's is a lot more soft and that, and just the coloring, because he does his own colors and inks and everything too. The blues and the yellows, it feels straight from a noir in that way. Like, I know usually noir is like black and white, right? But just the way that it's playing with the light, like it just feels right. And yeah, I am so into this, and it even has back matter, which I love. That fills in the story even more. You know, did you read those?
No, I did not.
Oh yeah, so these are, you know, that they're set up like newspaper pages, and it's about the cult's hidden temple, which that got uncovered in Greece, and about what they had found, and the anthropology professor is interviewed through it. And then the other back matter is a story about Ezra CAIN, that in Harlem he had stopped the serial killer that was going around, and because it was Harlem and that's a neighborhood for people of color, the people weren't willing to go to the police, and the police weren't that willing to help. So Ezra CAIN stepped in, stopped this guy that, you know, the police weren't willing to say was a serial killer, who matched up the descriptions of all the people that had claimed to see this person, stopped them, and the killing stopped. Right? So they hail him as this hero, but the police are like, oh, we had no way of knowing that was a killer or not. So it definitely shows that he's still like, well, he might have a great relationship with the one policeman that he used to work with. It seems like the police are still the police, and that they're going to be at odds, you know? So, but I love when they build stuff out in this way. Like, again, Brubaker and Rucka and all of their independent stuff are very good at adding this back matter that tells the story without, you know, bogging down the comic. So yeah, I'm so into this. Like, I can't wait to tell people about this, you know? And again, this was the one that I remember hearing about with the Vertigo, that being like, that's an absolutely, you know? And I'm glad that it ended up being that.
No, it's very good. I was into it. It's well paced. It sets up the various threads and leaves off on a hook, which is very much all you can ask for. Art is good. It does have time to shine, especially in that first half. And it's not like once the dialogue comes in, it's too wordy or anything. It's perfectly fine. It's just that, you know, it goes in nice and quick, even though it's got the extra pages, because that first half is so, you know, just silent. So, it'll let you get invested in the visual storytelling and what the style is before we actually get into the plot of it, which is cool. So, no, I mean, after a couple of what's felt like duds from Vertigo for us, I'm really pleased that one of these new books has hit, and I'm actually, you know, definitely reading the second issue on the show, so that's nice.
Yes,
that's fun to say that. So, no, good stuff. But you know, it is a book where, like, the style is a big part of it. Like, I think the story's fine, like the story's perfectly well told, but it's not like it's doing anything, you know, wildly interesting. I mean, I could see maybe that idea of like him being willing to help people at the police won't, getting a bit like maybe a bit more like layered with commentary as it goes on, and we see kind of, you know, maybe that's why he's not on the force anymore, because he didn't like that they wouldn't help certain people or something. But it's really just like how much oozing an atmosphere it is, and kind of the vibe of it that's really working and clicking right now. So all right, what are you giving Ezra CAIN issue 1?
Call me crazy. That's a 9.5.
Now I realize I've given a couple of 9.5s this issue, episode, but you giving this a 9.5 is self-parody.
Yes, I understand this.
Yeah,
but I love this book. I finished this, and then I was like, I got to talk about it on the show. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah, I am going with a little bit more, sensible and restrained. I mean, it's at least an 8 for sure. Like, it's a great issue. I may go 8.5. I think it probably gets up there. But yes, clearly, yes, this was basically made just for you.
So now I'm definitely now because I downloaded the first 2 trades of that Texas Blood, and I finished the first one. So I'm definitely gonna breeze through the next one after this, because if you did enjoy this and you want something similar, like it's set in Texas, so again it's contemporary times. But yeah, same kind of style, same pacing. The art, I would say the art here, Phillips has really come into his own. So this is a bit more crisp and shown, but yeah, man, it's quality all the way around.